Welcome to show number 20. My name is Jean Gallagher, and Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better, where we explore the importance of the outdoors in maintaining life balance. Through this series, we will be talking with women business owners to understand their journey. And also, we'll also be hearing from Lynn Schuessler-Williams on her segment, Rising Up, which will happen every show, and I'm so excited about that. In addition to our main guest, and today's guest is Wendy Darling. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Jean.
So let me give you a little bit of her background, and we'll dive in. So Wendy is the co-founder of GTD, Go the Distance Consulting, and Miraculous Living Institute, committed to achieving your results. With over 40 years of experience as management and organizational development consultant, corporate influencer, relationship and transformational results expert, speaker, facilitator, master healer, and coach, her entire career has been dedicated to decoding what needs to happen to create results. So we have a lot to talk about, Wendy. Thank you very much for being here.
Of course, I'm delighted to be here.
And so we are actually hailing from the same state, just opposite ends. I'm in Auburn, outside of Sacramento, and Wendy is in San Diego, where the weather is always beautiful, or most always beautiful, most always. So let's start out. Give us a little bit about your background and how you started. I know that your story has taken many twists and turns over the last 40 years. And so give us the beginning.
Well, I'll try to really cliff note it. I started out as a sixth grade teacher, had 45 kids, which was highly illegal. That started to show the theme of my life. I always seemed to either take on challenges or I would tread in places other people dare not go.
45 kids, I can understand that's where people would not go.
Yeah, and I went to graduate school, got a couple of more degrees in counseling psychology, postgraduate work in management and organizational development consulting. I accepted a position a long time ago, I think it's over 40 years ago, as Dean of Students for a program called Semester at Sea. And there we had over 700 university students represented from all over the United States and even some international students. We lived on a ship, we sailed around the world, and I was their mom. And we could probably spend days talking about those experiences.
Was that on the East or the West Coast?
Excuse me?
Was that on the East or the West Coast?
It was on a ship. We sailed around the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's many, many stories I could share about that experience. I was only 28 at the time, so it was a big job for that time in my life, but I was kind of a fearless type person, and I went, sure, I could do that. My first gray hair popped out during that trip. And when I got back, it was, you only are hired for one semester at a time. Understandably, it's exhausting. And training and development was just getting started, and that appealed to me. And so I ended up accepting a position within an organization. I actually went to work for the state of Missouri. I had an opportunity to work with IBM in either Atlanta, Boca Raton, Florida, and I chose Jefferson City, Missouri. But it really proved to be an extraordinary training ground. And then in 1981, I started my own business and started out just part-time, but it very quickly went to full-time. And I was now traveling a lot. It's now 1990. I was sick as a dog. I was also, shall we say, a bit of a workaholic. I was very driven back then, and I was really sick. And it never entered this little brain of mine that maybe I should not get on a plane and take that trip. It was like the show must go on. I had a lot of executives waiting for me. So I was scheduled to fly from Dallas to Los Angeles. And I go outside the Dallas airport because, as I mentioned, I was very sick and I wanted to get fresh air. And this is way before the constrictions that we have today. And I passed out. I fell over a ledge and I fell 25 feet.
Oh my goodness.
And the good news in some ways is I landed on my right leg. The bad news is I landed on my right leg. My right leg was completely shattered. I had multiple surgeries. It had to be fully reconstructed. And they didn't know if I was going to walk for about 10 and a half, 11 months, which I do. And while I was also in the hospital the first time, around week 4, my former husband came, suitcases packed, saying he no longer wished to be married. And even though I take full responsibility for my part of that decision, the timing wasn't exactly optimal. Not that it ever would be. And when we went to court, he happens to be an attorney. He was awarded full custody of our son, who was only 4.5 at the time. Oh, and that's really when I broke. And to try to cut down to the chase, to where I am today, my mom, of all people, recommended that maybe I might want to learn how to meditate. Found somebody, started going to this little small group in this person's home, and quieting my mind at that time. My mind was very active naturally, but the trauma of everything that had occurred, it was even more so. And I remember going to Michael, the instructor, and I said, it's really interesting. Every time I almost feel like my mind is going to relax, I get this urge to sing. And he said, well, sing. And I started laughing. And I said, you don't understand. I actually have people in my life that request I not do that. And I'm sure his eyes rolled or whatever. And he said, Wendy, just give it a shot, see what happens. So I went back to my little place in the house and I got into that space and I allowed what this melodic type of singing came out of me. And for the first time in a very long time, not only did my mind start to relax, but so did my body. And not too long after that, I went to, we were back at this person's home, and we're finishing up. I'm walking down a hallway. I passed one of the other people in our little group, and out of my mouth comes, "Oh, you have a block around your heart." And I'm like, "Excuse me? Where did that come from?" I mean, it really, it just came, threw me out of me. And what was a real gift was his son, our instructor's son, was only a teenager, but he was really intuitive. He was very gifted. And I heard somewhere behind me him saying to the same person, "Hey, you got a block around your heart." And I'm thinking to myself, what's happened to me? What's happening to me? Mm-hmm. Because as I told you, I was just this consultant kind of person. And it was really the start of receiving and cultivating, which has become the Miraculous Living Method, which is a beautiful approach. I'm very biased, that instead of looking at all the little niggles, how, what, when, where, why, and how, first of all, we create from your heart's desire, really authentically who you are destined to be. And I have ways that I do that. And then because of the sound healing, which by itself is incredibly effective, but also years later, I started to receive downloads of designs that are transformational cards that energetically, they also have tremendous benefits. But when they're linked together, the sound and the cards, you listen to the sounds, whether it's me or an audio, put your hands on the cards, it creates a very unique circuitry. So kind of like, I use this example a lot, kind of like the experience when Michelangelo was asked how he carved David out of a single slab of marble. he said, David always existed.
Inside.
Yeah. My job, meaning his job, was to just remove that. That was not David. And I feel that in a lot of ways, that is what I do. So I assist people to grow their business, make more money, raise what I refer to as their financial set point, open up to be able to receive more. I work with singles to attract love, couples to replenish their relationship, typically more women than men to help them release excess weight. I've worked with children with learning disabilities and other issues. And, there's been a lot of variety, shall we say. So in that sense, I wish it could have happened maybe just a little bit easier,
Yeah.
but it's such a gift and a blessing to be able to serve people this way, because I provide freedom for them to live who they're designed to live and to make their special mark and contribution.
Wow, that's amazing. And you're right. It would have, but if what had happened to you happened in a lesser manner, you might not be serving in the manner that you do.
Yeah, the cynical side of me wants to come out right now.
Yeah, totally. I would imagine, right?
Yeah, but even in those little glimmers, I when I look back, I'm 70. I'll be 71.
Which doesn't even, for anybody that's looking at you, they're going to say, no way possible.
Yeah, in 2 months it'll be the next one. Yeah, so it's a little twisty inside, but oh well. I'm so grateful how healthy I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a journey, and even last year I released my second book called Create Your Miraculous Life. It's never too late, because I want to be that example of what's possible. I'm now in the very early stages of another transition. And it's kind of like, I don't know what little conversation I had with God before I came into this world. But, it's like, seriously, we're going for it again. But I want, if I can be that example and inspiration for others, that no matter what you really want, it truly is never too late to get healthier, wealthier, attract love, whatever. It's possible. It's definitely possible.
And so if we break that down a little bit or understand, do you find that when you're speaking with people and they're having some blockage or challenges, how does the body react to that, right? And similar to what you had mentioned that happened with you and your singing and it just released in your body, do you notice with people that they have ailments is not the right word because we're not here to get medical advice, so a small little disclosure out there, but do you find that people are holding their stress and their troubles, and that releasing of that helps with the process? And how does that work?
Absolutely. In fact, I am able to see energy. And interestingly enough, when I work with somebody, for the most part, I'll close my eyes. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're sitting right in front of me or if you're in Australia. Mm-hmm. I can see you energetically. And because of my brain injury, I don't know if I mentioned that or not.
No.
Oh, let's
talk about that.
That was another little gift of that experience that went undiagnosed for a very long time. And I'm blessed. Mm-hmm. I'm doing quite well. And some of my challenges, most people wouldn't realize or recognize. And even if they did, so what? Nice. That's the nice part of being 70. You just don't care as much about a lot of things anymore. I'm trying to think what I was just getting ready to say.
Seeing energy.
Yes. So when I look at somebody energetically, if you're in full alignment, you look pretty clear and bright to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I see, because of my brain injury, I typically only see in black and white and shades of gray internally.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then I'll have a dream and it's like, that was in living color, and so so I can see where there is stored energy. And stored energy is typically thoughts and emotions that got buried alive. And because if we don't deal with them, they find a place within us. And it's like, oh, I don't want to feel that way. Great. Here, I've just found a home in your left thigh. So, that's
it's
why
actually my right thigh, to be honest. So
okay.
we might need to talk.
Okay. Yeah. So it really is so very important. And yes, again, I'm able to see where it is. And then I do my healing work. And it really, my interpretation of it is God works through me. We just pour love into those places and it dissolves. It just simply dissolves. It's not like I'm pulling it out or anything. It just dissolves. And it creates more freedom. Most everybody, just the very first session, they feel more relaxed. They feel more in their skin and in their body. And then there's a process that I teach that they use in between sessions that continue the letting go, as well as training the brain to be thinking in alignment with what it is you're wanting to be experiencing. Because the truth of the matter is you already are. You already are just perfect. You're not broken. It's all the gobbledygook, that's my technical term for the day, that has been absorbed and inaccurately programmed into your mind. And so that's why this process is so beautiful. We continue to release, we train the mind, you're in your heart, you're able to feel your guidance. Some people obviously hear guidance, but the wisdom of the heart is really what we want to be paying attention to, and having the mind support that, as opposed to the mind necessarily running the show.
And I would think, so correct me if I'm wrong, because this is just a thought, that training your mind obviously is really hard. But I would think that how does social media play into that training process? Is that must make it even harder for people to concentrate and maintain consistency in that training process. Would that be accurate?
So first of all, it's not hard to retrain your mind using my process.
Okay.
Because what happens, so let's take one tiny little example. It's very common for people to have safety and trust issues. And so let's say an affirmation is, I am safe. So somebody who's working with me will turn on their audio, which is the sound healing part. They have cards, the transformational cards, that also has a frequency. So they put their hands on it and they say, I am safe. So what's happening with the positive effect of that is it's strengthening that neural pathway, or it's possible it's creating a new one if one has never existed. But what the gift of this is because in this circuitry, this bubble of energy, the lower level emotions will go, oh, really? And it rises up, it raises its hand. But in this environment, it loses its life force. It's kind of like, because it's this beautiful love frequency, And a lower level frequency, say of hurt or even anger or grief, it just can't hold, it can't live any longer. So it's almost like taking a balloon with a tiny little pin, and it just, the air comes out of it. It's a very, very gentle process. So the second point of your question is, yeah, we all have to be conscious of what we choose to put in our minds, what we expose ourselves to. I happen to be a highly sensitive person. So you will not see me watching the majority of these crazy shows that are on television that have to do with war and violence and guns and all of that. It's like, thank you, no thank you. You know, we happen to, today, you know, we have this horrific war going on between Russia and Ukraine. I do want to stay involved, and I do watch some of the news, but I have to say it's really disturbing to me. And so, and I get on Facebook, for example, I'll do some quick rolls and see what's going on. But yeah, you know, that takes discipline. You know, it's not like living on your phone. And listen, I live on mine. So again, it's becoming more conscientious and conscious of what you're exposing yourself to. I don't like, you know, I'm blessed most of the time. I'm around people that are, shall we say, high vibe kind of people. They're happy, healthy, really live honestly, authentically, with high integrity. And I don't let I tend not to even attract it, but I don't let that kind of stuff in my life.
It's fascinating. And so can we talk a little bit about frequency? Because my knowledge of, I have this much knowledge on frequency. I understand that everything does have some level of energy that's emitted from it. And I know that there's frequency healing or healing with frequencies as well. And you can imitate something based upon its frequency. And so can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so everything's energy. We are in constant motion. And when we're having a happy thought, you know, it wouldn't be hard to believe that maybe your energy or frequency is a little bit higher. When you're sad, you know, we are more constricted and it's a lower level frequency. There is a person, his name is Dr. David Hawkins. And I love to make reference of him because he did a 30-year study of emotions. And he tested, I can't remember anymore, thousands of people over a 30-year period of time. And he ultimately created a frequency scale. So one of the lowest level frequencies, according to him, is grief. And I'm not going to be able to be specific because I don't have it right in front of me. But as you might imagine, grief, sadness, anger, frustration, all of those things are lower level frequencies. Then you get into joy and happiness and love. You know, I think there's probably more than that, but I focus on the love piece. And what I really appreciated about his body of work is, first of all, I didn't have a lot of words to explain what I did. I knew I did it. I knew it worked. But to be able to say to you, well, it works, you know, it's not the best selling technique. And which is why a lot of times I always tell people, have a session with me. If it doesn't resonate with you, you don't have to pay me, because I know it's different, but I also know it works. So, and by the way, when that's done, there hasn't been a time yet where somebody has said, I don't think so. So, but I think that's also the type of people I attract. So, all right. So now Help me remember.
So frequency and the difference in
Right.
frequency and Dr. Hawkins. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
See, this is the brain injury part. I use it all the time, at least that excuse. So what happens and what he demonstrated is when we're feeling the higher level frequencies, they literally can overrun and transform they can release it. They can affect and transform and release the lower level ones. So what's interesting though is if I sit in my office in San Diego, I can fill myself up with love. I can fill my home with it, my neighborhood, and I do this and send it out to the city, my state, the country, the globe. What his body of research demonstrated is one person can impact thousands and thousands and thousands. So I actually teach, for example, kids who talk, they talk about bullies, and they teach kids that those people that you're calling a bully is actually somebody that got their heart stomped on and they've really been hurt. And this is the way they have been able to survive. So I teach kids to sit silently, maybe in their classroom, and just send that person love because their love well is empty. And I know that that alone can make a positive impact. And if we just do that one-on-one alone, we're going to make a change. But we can do way more just by taking that kind of responsibility. It's really quite amazing.
That's amazing. And, I want to acknowledge something and just give a moment of space to it as well, that the courage and the bravery that you had in the beginning, bringing through and feeling so strongly about this process and being able to, before there was scientific or somebody else substantiating what you're doing, that's a brave act, which probably mostly comes from the heart, right?
Yeah. It's really interesting. People have called me courageous before, I will say. And I'm like, really? Because I'm just being me. And I'm just using what I can. I've always wanted to be of service. I've always wanted to contribute to the betterment of others. And so, yeah, in the early days, I felt kind of self-conscious about all of this because it was such a departure from who I had been. But there really did come a time, it's like, just get over yourself. I mean, there were times I worked on friends of mine for the first time, and I would be so self-conscious to sing because I still had a bit of a story of, oh, you're not a very good singer. And so, and when I sing top 40 kinds of stuff, I don't think it comes out quite the same way. So, so there, it's like anything. First of all, a lot of times people don't recognize how very special they are and what their gifts are. I didn't. Nobody told me until I was in graduate school. One thing that I did well was with my advisor in my practicum, because he put everybody on the hot seat, but I hadn't been put on the hot seat yet. And I mean, I begged to get into that practicum. And I finally went to him and I said, when are you going to put me on the hot seat? And he said, well, what makes you think I'm going to put you on the hot seat? I said, because it looks like you're putting just about everybody else on it. And he said, Wendy, he said, first of all, people get on the hot seat when they resist receiving feedback. You're always open to feedback. And he said, secondly, you're a really phenomenal diagnostician. And it was like, I am? You see that? I did tell him, I said, it'd have been nice to know this. I could have been enjoying this experience. Just
yeah, could have told me earlier.
But that happens, that our gifts are such a natural part of who we are that we don't necessarily recognize how
But
special
we
or
don't
unique
see
we
what
are.
other people are seeing in us. We don't see that
Right.
from the inside quite often.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
And so if you're not sure what your gifts might be, talk to some people in your life. They'll tell you. I know that they'll tell you the things they don't like. So you got to be careful with who
Yeah.
you ask and
Careful
how
what you ask for.
right. But if you ask people that you love and trust, what do you think is special about me? What do you think my gifts are? They'll tell you because they know. It's one of the reasons that you're friends with who you're friends with. They love that they get to rub elbows with you.
Mhm. So how does this process correlate to weight loss?
Yeah. So people that are overweight are carrying a lot of past emotion, and it's a sense of protection. It's the way that the mind has organized a view of the body and life, and it's being taken out on the body. And so as a result, the more people release what I say, the issues in their tissues, they can release naturally the junk in their trunk. I know it's a little cheeky. But it's really, again, kind of the Michelangelo David story. We're looking at what's happened that has created this protective barrier. And what can we do now to know that you're safe? Because the truth of the matter is, you are naturally lean and fit. Other things have interfered with that. And so my job in working with others is to really help position the person in a way that they will naturally gravitate to foods that best support them. They will naturally stop maybe craving certain foods. They will naturally not even want to eat as much. And by the way, I mean, I'm my own student here. I did not get this experience because I read a bunch of books. I have been my own laboratory for all these years. And even now, my own body went a little off over the last 3 years. And so, in fact, we have a class going on right now. And I was very open with them. One of the unique times I said, I'm in this with you guys. This is not just me telling you. I'm doing this work with you as well. And that even was a big step for me because I do find it very important for me to be in integrity with anything that I do.
And it's hard to expose your vulnerability.
Oh, well, yeah, but I know what it's like to be healthy. And I was going through, my hormones had acted up, I was getting a little bit older. Some other things were going on in my life. We had this little thing called COVID and, staying at home a lot. And so I'm not excusing anything, but that is in part what we do. So it takes a while. Some people respond immediately. Some people take longer. It's a process. And it's so brilliant in the sense that the body is showing you how in alignment you are and how authentic you are being in your life. So it's really way beyond weight loss. It's just the context of the conversation happens to be about weight. And people will start not just having things shift in their bodies, but also their life.
Is it hard to recognize the alignment that might be there or where the alignment is off?
No, it's not hard.
Really?
Really?
No, honestly, that surprises me that I would think that whether it's from current or previous habits that could be hiding that alignment, or people are used to feeling as they're feeling for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why it depends on where the person is, to the extent and how quickly they may shift, and their current life experiences. But no, to actually see if somebody's in alignment or not, they can even tell you, because either they're feeling really great, natural, and, it's easy to gravitate to foods that they know best support them. Or if they're, running out, buying whatever, knowing that maybe it doesn't support them as much. Now, you need to know, I do not believe in diets. I believe in intuitively eating. And once people are more in alignment, that becomes very easy. They can, there are times I can eat certain foods because I'm totally in alignment and it doesn't affect me as much. I was on, I took a 2-week retreat and I was traveling in New England. And one of my last stops was in Mystic Pizza. And I did, in fact, make a stop at Mystic Pizza. I mean, I was in Mystic, Connecticut. And I will say it was really good pizza. And I rarely eat pizza anymore, for the cheese and the flour. But I made a conscious choice. I went, I am in Mystic, Connecticut at Mystic.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. And this big pizza comes. And I had 3 pieces of pizza, which was fairly significant. And I enjoyed every bite. I went back to my hotel. I am not a nap person. I fell asleep and I took a 3-hour nap.
Holy cow.
My body just went, I don't know what you did, but we got to work on this. And you might as well just let us do our thing.
We need a few minutes.
Yeah. And I have to say, I didn't feel as good the next day. There are times, though, if I'm really feeling great, I can maybe eat something. Like for my 70th birthday, I was very intentional with what indulgences I was going to have that day. And I did. And I have to say, the next day, I didn't feel all that bad. So again, you see, that's where your energy and your frequency can make a difference.
Yeah. Oh, I can understand. Oh, okay. That's interesting. The frequency part as well. Yeah.
Now, I'm not encouraging you to try to get into a higher state of happiness and giddiness and love and then go pig out somewhere.
Not the message.
That's not the message. No.
So through all of this and taking care of others, how do you take care of yourself?
Yeah, obviously, after that little episode I had a few years ago, I definitely learned my lesson. Today, first of all, I take time first thing in the morning. I live in quiet first thing in the morning. I typically will spend some time meditating. I journal. I do my process, and a lot of times I'll do a little bit of reading, and that's like sacred time for me. Okay, there, I might play Wordle. I don't know if you're familiar with Wordle. But I don't use my brain a lot first thing in the morning. I really spend time, and because I strive to have with a feeling of being peacefully happy. And so then I typically, now I'm telling you my schedule now, I will go to my little gym that I go to, that doesn't require a lot of my time, which I love their process. It's all computerized, and we don't have to get into that. So I go to the gym, come home, get cleaned up, and then I have my day of seeing clients, of having interviews, of, later today, I'm going to have my Loving Yourself Lean class. So that's kind of it. And I usually do not work any longer at night unless it's a rare exception. And, the same weekends. I only work weekends when I find it necessary. And there are times I find it necessary. This weekend, Lynn's coming on. We have you and I and Lynn are going to be on the Be More conference this weekend. So
really
things
excited
like
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, which is really great.
And so creating boundaries for yourself.
Yeah.
And
yet they're fluid boundaries.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if they're not fluid, then that's also creating resistance in areas where you might need to actually have that flexibility or want.
It was really interesting. I felt a very strong pull to go to New England. And I was kind of questioning why.
Happens to me all the time. I need to go home.
Yeah, but I'm not from there. And it was winter. And so, but I have learned, if I feel the pull, if I feel guided, to follow that. And I have to say that most of the time it was pretty cold. There was one day in Newburyport, Massachusetts, that it was in the upper 60s. I mean, it was like, whoa. I still wonder if, because it was one of my favorite places, if the weather influenced me a little bit. But it felt so good to be outside in the sea air, in the crisp air, walking around, even days after it snowed, kind of walking through the slush or whatever. So that also is really important. Now, because of my accident that I mentioned, just in the last several months, I'm having trouble with my leg. And I'm looking into what can be done non-surgically. And because the orthopedic surgeon had surgical options, and I'm like, that doesn't sound so good. And so I don't have any cartilage in the joint area between my leg and my foot anymore.
Oh, wow.
And so it creates a little problem. And so he did give me an industrial strength kind of ankle brace, because getting back to what you're talking about, being outside, breathing the fresh air, moving my body in a more relaxed, I don't do power walking, in a more, nice clip, but, more relaxed. It's very healing for me. I get really good insights. One of the things I loved about my trip is I just felt like I was clearing out my own airwaves, because, as I mentioned, I'm kind of moving into a new phase of my life. And so it's like out with the old to make room for the new. And it was really cute too, because I was getting all these ones around me on my trip. I would look at the clock and it would be 11:11 or 1:11. The very first inn that I checked into in Gunquit, Maine, gave me the key to room 111, and I just chuckled. And I went, and I did actually request a different room only because I wanted to be on the second floor. And yet it was just so affirming that the heavens were basically saying, hey, this is all good. This is you getting ready for what's next. And it was just very affirming and really quite lovely.
Making space. Wow, that's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about your books, and then do that first, and then I'll ask my next question.
Okay. So my very first book, which came out, I think about 6 years ago, I'm losing track of time. It's called The Miracle That Is Your Life. And then my second book is Create Your Miraculous Life. It's Never Too Late. And just very quickly, I can share that I never thought I would be in the quote miracle business. It really came out of the time, first of all, where I gave my son a Hebrew name. In Judaism, I no longer practice, but I was raised Jewish. That in Judaism, you will give your child a Hebrew name, typically on somebody who has already been deceased. And my father had passed away the year before my son Adam was born. My father's Hebrew name was Nissen, and Nissen translates to miracle. And my former husband's, Adam's dad's grandfather had also just recently passed away. His name was Charles. And in Hebrew, that's Chaim. And so that translates to life. So my son's Hebrew name is Nissen Chaim, which translates to the miracle of life.
Amazing.
And when I shared that with my publisher, because she said we had already kind of got my first book organized, she said, what do you think the title's going to be? And that's how the title got birthed. That's when I rebranded my business to the Miraculous Living Institute. And at first, that too felt a little uncomfortable. It's like, really? You're going to be talking about miracles? And quite honestly, when I wrote my second book, my life was feeling very unmiraculous. Between the pandemic, my son became very, very ill. Thank goodness he's doing quite well now. But I felt that pull to write the book, and I'm like, oh, here we go again. So those are the two books. And it's really to provide a framework for people to start recognizing and embracing the miracles that are always present every moment. They might be itty bitty ones. And then sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I think it's pretty miraculous that you're in Northern California, I'm in Southern California, Lynn's in Kentucky, and
we're all together.
And we're all together, right? How does that
fantastic.
happen?
I know, like it's supposed to, is how it happens.
Right.
So I know that I'm going to be contacting you to get together because I have some questions that I think probably need to be answered. And I was kind of glad you didn't tell me what my energy looked like, because we'll have to talk about that in private.
That's fine. But, no, I didn't. And I never read people's energy unless we are in that conversation.
Yeah, that's good, because I was like, whoo.
No. That's I've had people that I could feel were checking me out energetically. I find that very intrusive. That is offensive to me. I will say there have been times I'd like to, when in days gone by in the dating world, I'd like to see what's really going on there. But, the good news is my integrity really doesn't allow me to do that.
Yeah, of course. So where can people find you, Wendy?
Yeah, very easily. My website is wendydarling.com. You can also email me at wendy@wendydarling.com. You need to put something bold in that subject line because I get way too many emails, probably like everybody. And then also, if anybody is interested, I have a free ebook. It's called How to Rapidly Remedy the 3 Major Issues Women Face. And if that interests anyone, even guys, you can go to miraculousresultsnow.com, and that'll let you get the book.
Wonderful. So thank you, Wendy. I know that there's so much we could probably talk for a couple of hours. There's just so much there. You do so many wonderful things, but I want to thank you for being with me and with us today. It's been such an honor and a pleasure to talk with you.
Oh, thank you. It was delightful and fun to have this opportunity. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And so now we're going to transition to Lynn Schuster Williams, coach and author. And moderator, creator of Rising Up. So spread some wisdom, Lynn.
Absolutely, Jean. I don't know about wisdom, but I have some thoughts I want to share. And first, I want to say what a delight to hear Wendy. She's a dear friend, and I can speak from personal experience of her process. It's amazing. So I hope our listeners will reach out to her. So in my part of the world, daylight savings time is a thing. And it happened this week, and it kind of got me thinking about all the ways that we continually try to control the rhythms of nature, right? Our culture would like nature to show up in a nice little box, right, with air conditioning and all the different ways we live. That are all about controlling nature and the rhythms of nature. And, you know, since the Industrial Revolution, really, right? So before that, we were controlled by the rhythms of nature. The rhythms of nature were how we decided when to work, what to eat, you know, when to rest, all those things. And so now, instead, we do things like daylight savings time, which I just find kind of funny. But, you know, there was no artificial light. There was no time zones. There were no artificial shifts of the time zones. So just imagine for a minute what it would be like to live that way, what it would be like to really be in tune with the rhythms of nature. And we as women are particularly connected there. You know, the rhythms of the lunar cycle have to do with our lives. And so we really kind of tune in to that alignment easily. And I think we also pay a little for the disconnect with those rhythms of nature. You know, I think that disconnect affects us as well. And so I was thinking about all this as I kind of realized today that spring is coming. Another rhythm in the wheel of the year, right, is about to happen. And I walked outside today we have a little plot in our side yard where we are experimenting with native grasses and native wildflowers to support the pollinators in our area. And I thought, I want to go outside and see what this coming of spring is bringing to this little plot of land. And there was a little spider and a little green grasshopper, and kind of underneath all the dry, brittle stuff left over from last year, there was this soft, lush green kind of undercoat starting to happen. And it was just really, really just wonderful to feel the soft earth beneath my feet and to see the little critters and the plants starting to come back. And I just felt this pull, as Wendy was talking about, this pull of connectedness. And so pretty soon, not very long after walking outside, the calendar and the clock reasserted themselves in my life. And I had to start paying attention to all the ways that we try to control the rhythms of nature. But I walked back in and back to my work today, and I was aware that I was kind of giving in to that calendar and clock, but not without the feel of the earth beneath my feet, the thought of the little green grasshopper that came to say hello while I was out there. And it just brought a smile to my face. And it made me think about, I live in a city, I live in an urban neighborhood. We don't even have driveways in my neighborhood, but we have a plot of land and we have a little green grasshopper and a spider, and we can connect with the rhythms of nature even on the week that daylight savings time is coming and raising its head and confusing us all about what day and time it is. So those are my thoughts about the rhythm of nature this week, Jean. What a pleasure to always be with you. Looking forward to Saturday and the Be More conference to hear both of you
plug
speak.
that good.
Yeah, so join us, women. This is the Be More conference for women. It is $27 for the whole day. Every ticket includes the free bonus of recordings of all the sessions. And there are 14 different sessions, all in 20-minute segments. So those recordings will be very consumable later on a drive or on a break or on the earbuds, walking out in the garden outside. So it'll be wonderful. And our theme this year is living in alignment. Your genius is calling. So it's going to be a fabulous day. We hope you'll come join us. Tickets are at bemoreconference.com.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
And thanks again to Wendy as well. And thank you to everybody that's watching, whether it's live or Memorex. You can catch it on the flip side on YouTube or discoverrisingtides.com. I want to thank everybody. We'll be back the first and third Wednesdays of April. Can't believe that April is the next month coming. So spring will be definitely in the air, and thank you everybody, and have a great afternoon.
Striving.